Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Lloyd's Career Live, ready to apply AI, data, and tech decoded. I'm Ty, an associate relationship manager here at Lloyd's, and my day-to-day job involves modeling risk for customers in financial difficulty and supporting them in their journey of becoming viable businesses through restructuring and refinancing. I joined Lloyd's as a grad back in September 2025. With some applications still open, we're looking to use this session to deep dive into the data and tech areas of the bank. We're hoping to use this session to showcase that we're more than just a bank, and it's not all about numbers. We'll start the session by allowing you to hear from some of our tech and data scheme grads, and they'll talk about life so far on the scheme and what they get up to on a day-to-day basis. The second part of the session will focus on something that we know can be quite daunting at times, and that's assessments and assessment centers. We'll talk specifically on how applications can differ for technical schemes and give you examples on how to tackle the answers.
Hi everyone, I'm Maya and I'm co-hosting with Ty today. I'm a financial services professional apprentice and I joined the scheme last September, same as Ty. And in my day-to-day job, I'm currently in the onboarding process for businesses. And like Ty said, this session is your chance to understand whether these areas are actually something that do fascinate you and ask the kind of questions that you might not get to answer and ask in YouTube or on Google. You'll also be able to directly ask questions to our speakers. So anything that you would like to know, make sure you pop it in the chat throughout the session. At Lloyd's, we also consider ourselves an inclusive employer in everything that we do. So if you would like to enable closed captions, you can do that now. And if there is anything that you would like to look over, this content will be posted on our Lloyd's Early Careers YouTube channel within the next week. So you can rewatch it all there along with the transcript of the show.
Good stuff. So just before we kick off, we would like to make sure that everyone is comfortable using the chat function. So if I could ask you all just to note where you're joining us from, just to see the different parts of the UK that we reach as a bank. London. Okay. Seems to be the capital so far. I'm dialing from Glasgow.
I'm in Birmingham today.
Birmingham. Nottingham. Oh, I've got Glasgow there. Yep. Nottingham.
Anyone in Birmingham? No. Oh, someone from Leicester.
Yeah, definitely. A nice mix. So now that we're all familiar with the setup of this session, we just have two quick polls we'd like you to fill out at the start, and then we'll re-ask you these at the end. So the first poll looks at, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are you in applying for a data AI tech role here at Lloyd's Banking Group? 1 being not confident at all, 5 being extremely confident. A good mix of scores, okay. There's no right or wrong answer, just trying to gauge a feel of confidence at this stage. Okay, so 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, okay. A good mix across the board. Yeah, mainly ambivalent, around about 3. Okay, good to see.
Yeah, so if we could launch the second poll. So this poll is going to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 5, to what extent do you feel that Lloyd's Banking Group would be your preferred choice of employer? So 1 would be not confident at all, and 5 would be extremely confident. Oh, liking to see some 4s and 5s.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. And thank you all for sharing your opinion. And we shall come back to this later in the show, and hopefully those scores would have changed.
Good stuff. So from time to time, we are going to open the chat up for Qs and As, and we will be diving into the chat to see what common themes are emerging. So for now, if we could kindly just ask for you to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Listen carefully, because there will be an abundance of good information coming out of this. So you don't really want to miss that, just in case you're thinking of questions. Like I said, there will be an opportunity for a Q&A. So we do have a few guests for you today, and our first guest is Anya, a data grad. How are you, Anya?
Hi guys, I'm doing okay, thank you. And I'm calling in from Edinburgh as well. Sunny
Oh,
Edinburgh right now, yeah.
yeah, it makes a surprise. Sunny in Glasgow as well. So, Anya, you're a chief and data analytics grad, aren't you? Oh, sorry, data grad working in chief data and analytics office.
Yes, that's right. So for anybody interested in the data science and AI program, that's the one I'm on right now.
Good stuff. So, could you tell us a bit about what you do?
Thing. So my first rotation was over in the Gen AI lab. So that was building rapid building Gen AI use cases within the bank, spanning all different business areas, everything from extraction, report generation, validation frameworks, every framework that you've used when you use ChatGPT. Imagine building it in an enterprise safe environment for all your financial data, legal data, ring fenced internally. So that was a massive hit the ground running for my first rotation. Second rotation, a little bit different. I was over with the quant team. So that's kind of your heavy financial mathematical modeling. And now I've just started in the agentic framework. So that's the center of excellence. That's building up our agent, multi-agent systems. As you can imagine, super exciting. Again, a bit like a tech startup, and it's got a lot of momentum in this space. So lots of very different experiences for me.
Yeah, good stuff. A lot of learning there.
Definitely. Yeah, from minute one, the whole way through. You never take your foot off the pedal. You're learning the entire time.
Good stuff.
Oh, well, thank you, Anya, for that. It was really interesting to just hear how much you've been involved in your time in the grad scheme. So are there any questions for Anya in the chat that you would like to ask her?
While people are putting questions in the chat, I'll just give them a couple of minutes and just say a little bit about my background. So I've
Yeah.
done a maths degree. Coming into Lloyd's, I hadn't had any experience within the financial services similar to Lloyd's. So don't be put off if you're thinking, hang on, I don't have the summer school, the spring week, in the financial services, they tend to have very set format. Don't be put off at all. It's just about kind of the raw passion that you can bring, especially when it comes to your AI. That there are no experts in this space. It's so emergent. So really throw yourself into it, and it's open to everyone.
Okay.
And I actually have a question for you about your application advice. So how did you apply?
For me personally, I came onto a similar scheme to this. So Lloyd's does lots of different seminars, and I did this Start Your Journey summer seminar, and then realized I was applying like crazy, but realized that Lloyd's had something a little bit different in that you always hear about values, you always cater your applications towards the values of the company, but with Lloyd's, it seemed to be they actually stood by the values that they listed. And I'm sure you guys agree, it's baked in through and through. And I've just not seen a workplace like it. So it kind of caught me at that point. And tips for applications, I would say they're really good at weeding out anyone who's not being themselves, anybody who's putting on a front. So just be completely honest, just be exactly as you are when you're with your family, when you're with your friends, and then you'll stand out.
And we have another question here. Are there any online courses that you would recommend in the space of data and AI?
So many. So I would say to get to grips with agentic frameworks, have a good explore with the Google Cloud Console. You get lots of free tokens, and just have a try building things. You can ask ChatGPT to help you. You don't have to be too technical on that side, and just think if I had an AI assistant, what would I want them to do, and see what you can build. There are so many courses to do with agentic frameworks as well. I'd say start with your good old LangChain course, again, free. Pick some maybe Google qualifications. All of these things are great. Nothing's expected, but it would just help you to get to grips with some of the frameworks we deal with in the bank.
Lovely. And what would you say the difference between data management and science schemes are?
Sure. So data science is all about your modeling. It's about once that data has come through the pipeline and it's all ingested and it's all uniform, you can then go, what insights can we pull from this? You can do your machine learning, your AI, but data management is a massive task. Imagine all the raw data that we collect in the bank. We have the second largest data set in the UK, and it comes from all different forms, and they have to find a way to manage that system, to ingest that system, to look at the quality and the missingness of that data. So it's a massive undertaking. We still have a lot of data that is in paper physical form because we're such an old bank as well. So you're migrating an entire data transformation that we're in the process of going through. So it's a really exciting time to be part of data management. And I know quite a lot of people get the two confused. So I would say just really look into it because you'll find yourself drawn to one more than the other.
Yeah. And lastly, where do you see yourself in 1 year?
So in the bank, we're looking at a massive digital transformation, like I say. In the agentic space, massive things happening. But for me personally, my eye's been caught by the digital transformation of assets. For anyone who knows anything about blockchain, DLT, smart contracts, we're doing some massive things in this space. And we're being the market leaders in the UK as well. So that's completely caught my eye. I really hope that in the next year I can get my foot in the door with that sector.
Oh, well, that sounds lovely. And thank you, Anya. If we can now hear from our technology graduate schemes, joining us for this are Scott and Archie. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Scott, if you don't mind, we'll start with you if that's okay.
Yeah.
So similar to what we asked Anya, can you tell us a bit about your role, the things you do on a day-to-day basis, and do you focus on different things to Anya?
Yes, so thanks for the introduction. Yes, so I'm a 2024 technology engineering graduate. So I've been here just over 18 months now. I am currently acting as an infrastructure engineer within our Apple MacBook engineering team. So I look after our growing estate of MacBooks that are engineering users and expanding to all users within the group. Some of the kind of main tasks that we are kind of looking after just now is kind of touching on what Anya said, that the bank has been around for a long time. We've obviously bought a lot of companies, we've merged with a lot of companies. So we've got a kind of mishmash of technology around the group. So a lot of the work we're doing just now is migrating different devices, different users, all into one uniform system. So something I've been working on for the last kind of 4 months is migrations of MacBooks from an old system we used to call strategic Macs over to an enterprise Mac, which we have worked very closely with Apple and other third parties to build. With working with those third parties, we get to go down, visit their kind of head offices and do offsites, kind of work with that relationship with them, because within the UK, we're the second biggest customer for enterprise MacBooks. So we are very influential and have a really good position to kind of have requests for features or what we'd like from companies like Apple and Microsoft, because as much as we're using MacBooks, here at Lloyds, we use all the Microsoft Office suite, Copilot and all that in the back end. So part of our challenge is getting all those systems to work on a Mac where they typically wouldn't. So we're just getting started, but we are kind of rapidly growing area of the bank, and I really, really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you, Scott. Sounds like you've been getting up to a lot. If we could hand over to you, Archie, with the same question.
Cheers, Maya. So, hi everyone. I'm Archie. I am a tech engineering grad as well. I only joined in 2025, a whole 5 months ago, so I'm still pretty green, getting used to everything. So I'm in an infrastructure team, infrastructure and networking, and our team's job is to run an application within the bank which allows colleagues to access resources in the cloud securely. So any teams that have got virtual machines, Kubernetes clusters, storage buckets, databases, any of that stuff that's up in cloud resources like in Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, and others. We have a software that we maintain which allows colleagues to connect to those resources in a safe way that's compliant with security policies and stuff. So yeah, that's our job, to do all the maintenance for that, which doesn't sound as fun on the surface, but actually it's been a lot of automation over the last 5 months since joining the team. So it was a very manual process, and we've been doing a lot of very sort of bank firsts in terms of the automation process, bringing in new tools. So it's been really exciting and really good work to get part of, and been quite an intense first rotation, but I've been really enjoying it.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Archie. Super insightful. So I'm just quickly going to go to the chat to see if we have any questions for you too, including yourself, Scott. Start off with you, Archie, if you don't mind. How did you find the shift from uni to the grad scheme?
Oh, it's I mean, I've really enjoyed it. I think I say it to my mates, so it's quite surprising. So a lot of them are still doing their masters, but I've really enjoyed having more of a routine. I think when you're at uni, you kind of you can kick coursework down the road and then you end up doing it like the night before and it's late and all that kind of stuff. Having like a structured day where it's like, yeah, you turn up to the office, it would like for these hours, you've got these meetings, you get stuff done then, and then 5 o'clock hits, you shut your laptop, you're like done for the day. It's a really nice change. And I think that when you're working in a team all the time that's got like a very solid objective, I found the work far more rewarding than if you were, say, just like doing a coursework that, gets submitted and then kind of swept under the rug later on. I find it really rewarding and really exciting. So a lot better than uni, but that's just me.
Yeah, definitely. And since joining the bank, what's been the most surprising thing about your role?
Ooh, not necessarily the role. I think one of the weirdest things that I found was actually just getting used to working with like colleagues of all ages. In all the jobs I've had before were always with students. I think it's been quite fun turning up to work and it's like, yeah, like members of my team have got kids and stuff, and it's just more exciting. You get to meet a lot of different people. I found that part probably the most exciting and maybe surprising thing, just stuff I hadn't thought of. I think the other, I guess, surprise was that at uni I did computer science and I was like, oh, I feel like I've got a good grasp on loads of different things. But I think that you realize when coming to the bank that there are so many different applications going on at the same time that I've been introduced to so much stuff that I just did not know existed. So there's just so much going on. And I think absorbing that has been like quite a lot for the first few months, but honestly really exciting once you get fully into it.
And I guess this is open-ended for both you, Archie and Scott. Do you believe there was something specific you did and showed during the application process that made you stand out? And if so, what was it?
I'll start with this one. And actually, I'm going to kind of piggyback on something that I hear from a lot of people, and kind of Anya touched on it as well with our introduction, is Lloyd's is actually one of the latter places I applied to. But at that point, I kind of had lost a lot of the anxiety around doing all the applications. So I would probably say going into it, I was my kind of true authentic self when I was in the kind of interview stages and kind of the assessment centres at that. I didn't try and pretend I was more than what I was. I was completely honest and shared what I was interested in. And which it does seem probably not an answer you want to hear, but it is truly what Lloyds are looking for. They're looking for you as a person, because they realise they can train us, they can teach us the skills needed to do the job, but it's much harder to teach you to be the person they need in terms of your work ethic, your work attitude. So if I was to say any advice, it'd be kind of just try to be yourself and just kind of show how you kind of motivate yourself and what actually interests you.
Yeah. And definitely, and my final question for you, Scott, is I know Anya mentioned the training programs that she used. What programs do you use, if any?
So prior to joining the scheme, I did do a kind of computer science degree. So I did have some background in that. But in terms of the application process, we will touch on it later in this evening. But there is kind of online kind of coding platforms I use to kind of get my kind of skills in line to kind of do it in more time pressure environments where all your kind of movements and stuff are tracked. But in terms of within the group, every team's different. So I've been very fortunate within my current role, one of the companies we partner with to provide the solution that we provide do certifications, which cost a really good amount of money, but the company will pay for you to go and do them as part of the graduate scheme, as part of being in the team to develop your skills in that area. So I've been able to do one so far and I'm booked on to another 2 over the next couple of months.
Oh, good stuff. And I said that was the last question, just squeeze in one more. Can you compare this to any other workplaces? Did you do an internship or did you just go straight from uni?
Probably can't give too much of a detailed answer here, unfortunately, because I did come straight into the graduate scheme from uni. I just had a part-time job during uni as a kind of kitchen designer that I followed through from the end of COVID. So yes, you've got transferable skills from that, being kind of customer-centric, communication, teamwork, problem solving. So definitely let those skills shine through. Because a big thing about being an engineer, whether it be tech or data, is you're going to have a problem thrown at you and it's going to be up to you to try and find a solution. albeit not by yourself, all by your knowledge. You are obviously, unlike uni, able to use AI. We have all Copilot license within tech and AI. You've got your peers, like I said, we've got people that have been here for ages, we've got people that have just joined. There's such a wealth of knowledge. It's just about how do you tackle the problem, not already knowing the solution.
Yeah, no, definitely insightful. Thanks a lot for that. Now, one question that we often get is, how do we apply and what can I do to prepare for my technical assessments? We thought this would be the case, and for the next segment, we've created our own mock-up questions to give you an insight into the type of questions you might tackle. Before we explore the mock-up questions, we've designed a Mimic Assessment Center, and we want to look at the early application stages, specifically the coding test. So, Scott, I know we've got our own coding website. Would you be able to share our screen and talk us through that?
Yeah, let me just bring it up just now for you. Right, entire screen share. Perfect. Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So all these links will be shared with you later on this evening, but within our Lloyds Banking Group talent page, so specifically I'm looking at the kind of graduates application process just now. Down the very bottom of the page, some of you may have already done this, down the bottom, we have an assessment practice zone. So you can follow this link straight through and it will take you onto this page. I'm already signed in automatically, but it'll ask you to create an account if you've not got one, or it'll ask you to sign in if you have made one. Once you've done that, you'll come through to a page like this. So this isn't just for the codality part or just for tech or data. This is for all our graduate schemes. So you will find a lot of useful information in here, whether it be for interviews, whether it just be work practical assessments or job insights sort of things. What we're going to focus on for the first kind of 5 minutes here is the kind of what's unique to tech, and that is the codality side of it. So obviously feel free to have a look through this in your own time. We've got all these useful resources here, but we're going to have a look at the practice assessments, and we are going to look at the practice coding assessment. So we're just going to go through this. I'm already signed in. It will ask you to make an account first of all, but it's a completely free account. You don't need any credit card information to create an account, just an email and name. Once you're on here, up the very top, you're able to navigate yourself to the exercises page. And in here, you'll be able to find exercises which are going to be similar to the kind of format that you will get online during the application process. All these ones are just example ones. These names down the side are just whatever category they've been pulled out of the catalogue in the back end. But as an example, we'll kind of step through kind of an easy one here for you. So you'll see a task, you're able to just view it. And the biggest thing I'll say with these codality tests is they are flexible to whatever languages suit you. In this drop down, you have all these languages you can pick from. So you can do it in one you're really strong in, one you're just learning. Really, really flexible. So for the example, I'm going to continue with Python, just because that's where I personally feel my strongest language is. And when you're doing this online, you will be up against the time, but the one piece of advice that I will provide is that there is a lot of words here, and that is to make it look hard. It's actually the hardest part of this is reading it and understanding what it wants you to do. Because we realize you can't write endless code in the limited time. We're actually testing, can you understand what the question is? And then what logic do you need to use in the code to get the desired answer? I'm not going to read this description all out, but feel free to have a look through later on. So for example, I picked Python. I have already read this through and understand the task. It gives you examples of what the inputs and outputs are expected to be. And I'm going to give it a go. So you will then click start, and it will bring you into this kind of virtual environment, and you just click start. Give it a wee second. The first time you come in, you'll be able to take a quick tour around how the environment works, how to use everything, and where you need to do all the work you're doing. So let's say I'm going to just go through it as we're kind of quite tight on time for this evening. But when you're doing it yourself, like I said, the time's not started yet. So take your time, read all this, understand it, and just get yourself familiar with the tool set that you will be using. Finish tour. Let's get started. Let's say on the left, you've got another kind of the summary of the task and what they're looking for you to do, which is very handy because I'm not great when it comes to memorizing minute details. But beside the point, over here on the right hand side, this is your kind of coding space. You can do whatever you want. You will see you can, actually I can't read this. You will be able to change your language again. I'm going to go to Python. Yep, confirm. So let's just pop our solution in. So I did prepare this earlier on, just as I didn't want to embarrass myself, frankly. But like I said, I managed to fit this in over my kind of lunch hour or my lunch period today, so it didn't take too long. So based on everything I read, came up with a kind of quick solution, which was to just do a quick logical test here. Players. And then turn. There we go. That's the solution I came up with earlier on. So what we're going to do now, I did not test this earlier on because I didn't want to open up the task. This might very well not work. This was just very quickly thrown together. But down the bottom, once you put your solution in, you can click Run Code. It will run with a couple test solutions that will give you a quick output. So fortunately for my case right now, this is all passed successfully. You can run this test down the bottom as much as you want. So for example, I put a wrong number. This doesn't hurt your output. You see, I've not submitted a task, but it lets me show, okay, right, something's not right. So you're not blindly putting these answers in. So put it back to the correct one. I will run the test again just to make sure that I've not done anything silly. Perfect. I'm happy with that answer. There's nothing else I want to change. Up the very top, I can then just submit that task and just confirm. There we go. It's just verifying the solution with the other test cases. There we go. That has now all ended. When you actually come to do this online, there is three different puzzles they will give you. Let's just give you a kind of playback of it. There is three different. So I can stop sharing. Let me go back. Stop sharing. So there's three different puzzles you'll do on this website here. We have got 10 times that with all varying levels of difficulty. So I'd recommend just take your time, go through it, learn how the system works, try some easy ones, try some hard ones. But like I said, the biggest thing we are looking for is how you understand the question and your approach to solving that question. Everything you do within the code editor is tracked and analyzed. So don't just take the question, pop it in your favorite generative AI and use that solution. that it will register you as doing that. It tracks the mouse movements, it tracks the inputs, it'll know if you've pasted, copied, so on and so forth. So that is the kind of main bit from the kind of codality testing point of view.
Oh, well, thank you, Scott, for that. That was really helpful, and I'm sure it was really appreciated from our audience as well. We're going to share the link to this website at the end of the course so you guys can start your own practice, but let's see if anyone's had any questions for Scott on the practice website. So if you'd like to put them in the chat now. Scott, would you like to explain how you actually found this website?
So when I done my application, or how did I find it in terms of learning from it? So just so I can answer the question in a useful way.
How you learned from it would be useful.
Yeah, I always tended to struggle when there's a timer there. So something you may not know about me is I'm dyslexic, so I struggle with getting things done quickly. So obviously in exams and stuff, I always got 25% extra time, which is something we should point out, is that during all these assessments, if you are someone like me that's dyslexic, neurodivergent, let us know and we can put things in place. So I did get an additional 25% extra time, which did help. But by doing these kind of practice things, I would occasionally get them wrong. It let me kind of, right, got this wrong. How should I reapproach this? We can't, obviously, the practice ones, we can't adjust the time. So it's always quite good for me to kind of practice within that time constrained environment, get it right, get it wrong, and kind of understand. The biggest thing I learned, is like I point out, is that once you figure out what it's asking you to do, the code itself, you're not writing loads of code. It's understanding and getting that code to do what you want in a small amount of space is the hard part.
Yeah. And a question from the audience is, are the practice questions similarly worded to how the actual online assessment was?
Yes, they are very similarly worded. They will look very complex. They will look very overwhelming. That's what they're designed to do. But like I kind of showed in that example there, we had a good few paragraphs explaining, and I only put 2 lines of code in. That's what the test is. So yeah, they are worded and phrased very similarly.
And how did you feel when you were taking the exam?
So when I was taking the exam, I was actually really relieved. I'd done other exams online when I was applying for other businesses. Lloyd's wasn't the only one I applied for, which didn't let me change my language to my kind of preferred language or where I was strongest. So coming into Lloyd's, being able to change it to my stronger one did help a lot. But I did find when I done it, we had a slightly different process to what it is nowadays. We just had kind of 5 smaller challenges that built up. But when we update these processes, and we have to test them internally. So we went through this and we found this much more beneficial and true to what the role will be like. Because us as engineers, we have product owners coming to us saying, I would like this because of this is how I want it to work. And it's our job to translate that massive description into the working product.
Yeah. And what advice do you have if someone can't complete the answer within the time? Would you suggest to just write the approach as a comment?
I'd do both. So everything you do throughout this whole assessment bit is recorded. So every single key you enter, at what time, copy, paste, that is all recorded. So they will see and analyze how you've approached to it. But if you realize at the end of when the time's coming up, you realize you're not going to get it, don't give up. Like I said, putting a comment's a brilliant thing to do. Put a comment saying, this is what I'm thinking. I've realized this is the issue. And it's showing that you're able to self-reflect, realize that, okay, what I've done before didn't work, but this is what I'm going to try now. And showing that you're willing to work hard and keep trying right up to the deadline is actually showing more determination and motivation than just, oh, I'm not going to get it, I'll give up. So even if you're not going to get the answer, that's not really what we're looking for in this simulation.
And if we could just ask you one final question, would it be necessary to know more than one programming language or be well versed with one language? Is that sufficient to have one, or would it be better to have multiple?
For doing the application, being very well versed in one, you're completely more in your line to do it. So especially if it's ones like Python and Java that can do a bit of data handling, can do a bit of graphical if needed. You don't need, once you're actually in the group, we are consolidating the different languages we use. There used to be over 24 different languages used across the group. I believe this year we're trying to consolidate that down to 11 or 12. But you will get relevant training and boot camps once you're in the group to what one you need. But for the assessment, as long as you're comfortable with one, like I said, my preference is Python, but if you know Java, if you know whatever, you're more than welcome to do that. What language you pick isn't scored.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Scott.
No worries.
Now, guys, we're going to imagine you've passed your coding test and you're about to attend your Lloyds Banking Group Assessment Centre. We often get a lot of questions on how these days differ to our technical schemes. So the main difference is that you'll be put through a technical challenge in which you're assessed on your approach to thinking about solving a problem.
Now, we must say, as much as we've tried to replicate the skills needed for an assessment, the questions you're about to see are not the ones you'll be asked on the day. This is merely a demonstration to give you a flavor of how someone like a tech grad might answer the question. At Lloyds Banking Group, we're not looking at our one-size-fits-all model. We're not looking for that one perfect answer. We're looking for the skills that you bring and the approach that you take when answering a question and the personal insight that you might bring to one of our many teams.
To demonstrate this, Archie, I'm going to ask you to be our candidate for today. So I'm going to ask you the question. We are looking to create a new application where customers can log in and complete feedback forms for possible upcoming products and services. As an engineer, in whatever method you prefer, can you please create a high-level design of how the back end of the login process could work? If you guys pop your thoughts into the chat as we go, Scott, you can also help keep an eye on the chat. So Archie, how would you approach that question?
Cool. So hopefully everyone's had a little bit of time just to get thinking about that. So this would be my personal approach to solving just these kind of problems more generally. So I'd always start these with like what can maybe best be described as a bit of a brain dump, right? When you read a question, there's like a lot of stuff going on in your head. I find it just easier to start getting as many ideas out of your head as possible, writing them down. So you'll start to relax a little bit, clears your head, but also it helps you identify areas where you kind of want to seek maybe more clarity, or maybe start ruling out some options if the question maybe feels a bit too open-ended to start with. So I guess some of the best advice I can give is to just think out loud during that process. So with this one, for example, it talks about login systems. So I immediately would start talking about, oh, that means there's going to be usernames involved, passwords. You might be thinking about multi-factor authentication, or you might be thinking about third-party providers providing that authentication. As you start maybe speaking this out loud, your interviewer might intervene. They might say, for example, oh, for the case of this exercise, we're not going to think about third-party authenticators like Google, Facebook, Apple, whatever. And then with that, you might ask if like, oh, does that mean we're going to maybe take more of a focus on a username password system, or is the focus more going to be on multi-factor authentication? Use it as a way to like refine your ideas and sort of pick which avenue you want to go down. And then from there, I would start with just maybe the most basic solution you can think of, like absolute bare bones, big picture thinking, and then you can start to iterate over that and adding the detail. So if Michelle, if you don't mind bringing up the solution we may have cooked up earlier very quickly. So I would always do these as diagrams. I think it's a lot easier. I think pseudocode can get a bit messy, especially if you're trying to brainstorm or if you want to circle back to things, make changes. So this was the example I came up with. Very simple, just talking about getting passwords inputted and stuff in this case. So some of the stuff there, it mentions like salts, hashes. If those terms are new to you, do not worry, it's totally fine. You might have a dialogue with your interviewer about certain things. So it might be that when you start talking about passwords, you might say, oh, they need to get stored somewhere. They might prompt you to then think about, oh, how would you store passwords correctly or safely and all that kind of stuff. And that might get you into that process of adding those layers of detail to your solution as you go. But also then if you don't know, if it's just like new stuff to you, you can then move on to another section of the solution, which you think you may be able to flesh out a bit more. So feel free in the chat to pick holes in my solution if you see any, or put your thoughts in there. But I guess the headline advice that I would give for doing these kind of questions is to just think out loud, say the obvious, because whoever's interviewing you doesn't know what you're thinking. So even if you think it's obvious, they won't know that you're thinking that unless you say it. So think out loud, and then also be really engaged if you get any kind of feedback on the go or comments or questions, because it's designed to help you think and improve your solution. And it's also designed to see how you engage with feedback, because obviously joining the group, you're coming in as like grads, you're not expected to be mega experts. So they want to know that you're able to be like coached and sort of able to take on feedback and change what you're doing accordingly. So that's the best advice I can give these kind of problems, I guess.
And as I'll chime in here, obviously, I did go through a very similar process, and similar to what I was kind of talking about, the codality test. So how this is actually done is it's usually done over a space of 40 minutes, this exercise during the assessment centre. And it's just you, and you're popped into a room with a senior engineer from within Lloyds, and they have the kind of scoring scheme. We don't have this, so anything we say just now is just purely based on what they've told us and our personal experience. But that senior engineer in there, they position this. It's not a challenge for you to solve directly there. Come up with a solution, but what they really want to get to know is, like Archie was saying, ask the questions. They want to know, where does your brain go when this problem's posed to you? Do you think of multi-factor authentication? Did you ask, how does the bank do it? What does our kind of back processes look like? They want to kind of help you. So these are questions you ask the engineer, and they will give you a response back, and they'll steer you, okay, that's not what we're looking for in this kind of part of the assessment. They are there to help you. It is a very unique assessment section, I'll be completely honest with that, but it is one that I was scared going into and very daunted going into, but the senior engineer that you get is very good at kind of calming you down, explaining the situation, and making it clear to you what the expectations are.
I might just take a moment to answer a question we got about return tokens. So yeah, if you had an authentication system that was token driven and thinking about sessions, then sure, throw it in. I think as Scott said, like these exercises are really designed to just see how you think, and you can add as much detail and like flesh to the bone as you want with this, and just have that dialogue with your interviewer. So if you wanted to talk about return tokens and sessions, then go for it and see where the conversation takes you. But I think I would try not to almost try not to stress too much about technical detail and knowledge to a degree. Like just see where the conversation takes you. Talk about the stuff you do know, but don't overthink the stuff that you don't know, because as Scott said, they're not expecting you to be experts from day one. They're expecting you to come in and be sort of willing to and ready to learn. So focus on the stuff that you do know, and yeah, see it more as a conversation and like an assessment of how you get to solutions and how you work to get there, rather than what do you know and like how much you can do from the outset, if that makes sense.
We also have a question in the chat about, would a solution be stronger if you also knew the tools which are required for these kind of system design questions? For example, a NoSQL database, or is the process prioritized more?
That is a perfect question that you would ask that engineer. And that's what they're looking for you to ask. Because that question you've just asked us is what that engineer is kind of scoring you on, is those questions you're asking. Is like, so you're showing you've got technical knowledge because you're like, right, we need to consider this. So yeah, definitely a question to ask, and then how they respond to you would be depending what you do with your solution.
And someone's just also asked if the practice questions are similarly worded to the actual online assessments. We've made this question up, but I will have to go to Scott and Archie for that. What do you think?
So the question that we've made up for this purpose just here, we've tried to make it kind of because it's how such a unique question, this sort of thing. The question in itself will be worded in the same way, and what they're looking for is in the same way, but the actual question itself will be completely different, yes, if that helps. So how it's pitched to you will be similar.
Perfect. Ty, do you want to move on?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Scott and Archie. I guess the main idea is it's about the thinking behind it and how you approach the solution. Now, just before we close off, we want to remind you that we have work experience and skills fest events opportunities right now available on Eventbrite and through our Faster Forward site. Some of these will allow you to come into the office and actually take part in real life problems and activities that we undertake as a bank. I think Maya might be frozen there. So with that being said, make sure you check out our videos on YouTube and our early career site too. Our last few career lives have been specifically geared towards applications. So if you're wanting to prepare for the opportunities coming later this year, or hear a breakdown of what's going on, head over to the YouTube channel and have a watch. So I'm just going to circle back and ask you a few of those questions through the polls that we asked earlier on. And if I could get the first poll set up, looking at, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident are you, having heard everything you've heard tonight, about applying for a data, tech, and an AI role? 1 being not confident at all, 5 being extremely confident. Scores have gone up, definitely. And I think that's a testament to you guys, Archie and Scott. So thank you a lot for that. 4s and 5s. So I appreciate that. And we'll move on to the second poll. Following everything you've heard from Scott and Archie and Anya, on a scale of 1 to 5, to what extent do you feel Lloyds Banking Group is your preferred choice of employer? Very high scores, yes, 4s and 5s, some 3s. Good stuff. So we will be hoping that everyone does apply and shows a keen interest. And based on everything Scott and Archie has relayed, hopefully you've got a bit more confidence in everything that's going on. Please don't forget that we will be uploading a replay of the live stream on the LBG Careers YouTube within the next few days. So you can always rewatch the videos if you think you've missed anything. Just wondering if anyone has a last few questions before we log off. Does Lloyds offer professional placement opportunities in 3rd and 4th year undergrad programs? Does anyone know that?
We do offer industrial placements years, but needs to be if your university supports it, you can apply to do it with us. I know usually we do have up here in Edinburgh, we have usually about 10 or 15 each year, just because that's what the number I've applied to. But no, we do offer them.
Okay, and we do have another question. What would you say was the toughest time period during your respective roles with Lloyd, Scott, and Archie?
I'll let Archie start with this one.
Oh, I was going to say, I'll let Scott start with this one. Oh, I'm trying to think, like, toughest bit. I think just joining a role is always like I think the transition, as much as like I've had a really great time and like I'm enjoying it, I think just generally life changes are always a bit tough. But like I love my team. My team's fantastic, and like I couldn't have started, I think, anywhere happier. Now I like look back on it, and obviously at the time they're like, oh my god, big change. But I mean I've had a great time with it, and I think it's always going to be a bit difficult, especially if you're moving cities or like living further away from friends and stuff. But um, I think that like my team was really solid, like got me involved straight away. And there's always loads of people to go and see. And I also think that compared to a lot of other places, the grad cohorts were really big, and it was like such a lovely community, and there's loads of stuff on. Like you've got to meet so many people. We have like there's like a grad buddy scheme. Scott is my grad buddy. So Scott was really helpful before joining. Like we had a couple calls and like just got to chat about all like the little things of like what is office life like and all that. So there's so much stuff, but all your questions you can get answers for. There's so many people who want to help you. Like, yeah, like it is tough, but there's so many people wanting to help. You'll be fine.
Appreciate that, Archie. I guess just to close off, if everyone involved in the call wants to hear a bit more about the bank and the other areas and grad schemes offered, we will be back with more deep dives in a few months, looking at marketing, branding, actuarial, and audit. So thanks again for joining us. I know you have other things you could be doing, but it's a step ahead in achieving what you're looking to get. So thanks a lot, and back to you, Michelle.